In 1841, a man ran a national communications network using nothing but 2 pieces of scrap metal and a hole in the dirt. No fuel, no coal plant on the horizon, no invoice at the end of the month. Just metal, soil, and a voltage. Reading that should not have been possible. The moment that needle jumped, everything we were later told about energy, about dependency, about necessity became a choice, a manufactured one. His name was erased, his patent was buried, and the industry that replaced him made $150 billion last year selling you something the Earth was already giving away for free. This is patent number 9363, filed 1841, and it still works. The man they erased. His name was Alexander Bain, son of a Scottish crofter, apprenticed to a clockmaker in the Highlands. No formal education, no university pedigree, no wealthy patron with a checkbook. He plundered public science lectures for the secrets of the elite, absorbing every principle of electromagnetism he could find, and then went home and built it himself. In 1841, this outsider, this son of a farmer, buried plates of zinc and copper in the ground 1 meter apart, connected a wire between them, and watched the needle on his clock jump to life. The Earth itself was powering it. No battery purchased, no fuel consumed. The ground beneath his feet was doing what every galvanic cell in every laboratory in Europe required expensive chemicals to do, for free, silently, and indefinitely. He scaled it up. He used the same principle to power telegraph lines connecting entire cities. He did not build a prototype. He built infrastructure. This was not a curiosity in a glass case. This was a working national communication system powered by dirt. So why does no one know his name? The science, the giver, the taker, the bridge. Before we go further, one thing needs to be said plainly. This is not magic. Nobody is breaking physics. What Bain discovered was chemistry, raw, elegant, ancient chemistry that your AA battery also uses. The difference is the Earth does it without a factory, without a supply chain, and without ever sending you a bill. Here is all you need to understand. 3 things, 3 roles. The zinc is the giver. The moment it enters moist soil, the Earth attacks it, a process called oxidation, stripping electrons from the zinc and launching them down the wire. The zinc gives willingly. Engineers call it the sacrificial anode. It offers itself up so the circuit can live. The copper is the taker. Those electrons race through the wire and arrive at the copper plate hungry for completion. The copper receives them. The circuit closes. Electrical pressure builds. Power flows. The Earth is the bridge. The moisture in the soil, laced with natural salts, minerals, and weak acids, connects the 2 plates invisibly underground. It is the electrolyte, the river the ions travel through. It does not run out. It does not expire. As long as the ground is moist and the zinc exists, the reaction never stops. That is it. The giver, the taker, the bridge. You now understand the engine that the $150 billion battery industry does not want you thinking about. The charcoal secret, the missing key. They scrubbed from history. This is where everyone else fails. Thousands of people have tried to build an Earth battery. They bury the zinc. So they bury the copper, they measure the voltage, and for an hour, sometimes 2, it works beautifully. Then the needle drops, the current dies. They pull the plates out of the ground, call the whole thing a fraud, and go back to buying batteries at the supermarket. They were one material away from changing everything. The problem is called polarization. As the galvanic reaction runs, hydrogen gas bubbles begin forming on the copper plate, invisible, relentless, accumulating like barnacles on a hull. Those bubbles physically seal the copper surface. They choke the ionic exchange. The battery does not run out of chemistry. It smothers itself. Bain solved this in 1841, and the solution was sitting in every fireplace in England. Charcoal, coke, carbon. This is the one step they scrubbed from the history books. The missing key that separates a toy from a power plant. Charcoal is not just black and porous. Under a microscope, it is an architecture of millions of microscopic tunnels and cavities. A surface area so enormous it absorbs hydrogen bubbles the instant they form, keeping the copper clean, keeping the reaction alive, keeping the voltage stable. Replace the copper plate with a bag of charcoal buried 3 feet deep and you do not have a science experiment anymore. You have a self-sustaining galvanic engine that produces over 1 volt of stable electrical pressure for months, potentially years, consuming nothing but a few millimeters of inexpensive zinc. Bain did not just discover the Earth battery, he perfected it, and then the industry buried him alongside it. The $150 billion lie. You cannot put a meter on the Earth here, is the question that exposes everything. If this technology worked in 1841, if it powered telegraph lines, ran clocks, was documented, patented, and proven, why are you and I still buying batteries? The answer is not complicated. It is just uncomfortable. You cannot put a meter on the Earth. You cannot manufacture a low battery warning for the ground beneath someone's house. You cannot ship soil in a retail package, mark it up 3,000%, and build a quarterly earnings report around it. A battery that lasts forever is not a product. It is the end of a product category. And the moment an industry understands that, the technology does not get developed. It gets disappeared. The Leclanché cell emerged in the late 1800s. Portable, convenient, and most critically, disposable. Industry did not adopt it because the science was superior. They adopted it because it ran out. A dead battery is a new sale. Planned obsolescence was not a flaw they failed to engineer away. It was the engineering. It was the entire point. Consider what that decision cost the world. A standard alkaline AA battery running a low-draw device dies in roughly 12 months, leaches toxic chemicals into whatever surface it sits on, and ends its life in a landfill. A zinc plate and a bag of charcoal buried 3 feet in your garden produces over a volt of stable electrical pressure after those same 12 months. Still running, still consistent, having consumed nothing but a few millimeters of metal. No cobalt mined from a conflict zone, no lithium extracted from a poisoned aquifer, no charging cable, no subscription, no factory, no invoice. Just 2 pieces of scrap metal, a shovel, and a man who was right in 1841. The industry did not outscience him, they outspent him, and then they outlasted him. The pattern of erasure. Bain was not alone. Bain was not the only one who knew. In 1885, George Diekman received a United States patent for an electric earth battery. In 1898, Nathan Stubblefield patented an electrolytic coil battery combining an earth battery with a solenoid. Patent after patent, inventor after inventor, each one documented, filed, approved, and then quietly absorbed into silence as the portable battery economy took hold and rewrote the story of what was possible. This is not conspiracy. This is commerce. This is what happens when an infinite resource competes with a consumable one, and the consumable one has shareholders. Bain himself never escaped it. The man who helped wire the telegraph age, who invented the electric clock, who built the first functional fax machine, and who proved the Earth could power civilization. The industry buried him. He died at 67, poor, in a home for the terminally ill, with a pension of £80 a year, obtained by friends petitioning the government on his behalf. He was right. They knew it, and they made sure it did not matter. What this means today. The real application. To be direct, this is not a claim that you should disconnect from the grid tomorrow. The Earth battery will not run your air conditioning. It will not charge your phone in under a day. Those are not the applications, and pretending otherwise would be dishonest. But for low-draw stationary power, the remote sensors, the LED security lights, the wildlife monitors, the perimeter alarms, the low-voltage clocks, the Bain Cell is not just an alternative. It is arguably the most sustainable, most cost-effective, most logistically simple power source ever devised for exactly those purposes. No supply chain to depend on, no recharging schedule to maintain, no battery disposal to manage, no rare earth minerals to import. Soil pH determines the reaction speed. Richer, more acidic soil delivers more current. Plate surface area determines capacity. Burial depth determines voltage stability. Every variable is tunable. Every component is either scrap metal or natural carbon. The physics do not have an expiration date. This is stationary power versus consumable power. For 180 years, we have been sold the wrong one. Conclusion: the ground beneath your feet. In 1841, A farmer's son from the Scottish Highlands looked at the ground beneath his feet and saw a battery. He buried the plates a meter apart and watched as the needle on the telegraph jumped to life for the first time in history. He realized the ground was not just dirt, it was a massive, untapped reservoir of ancient electrochemical energy waiting for a connection. He was right, and they knew it. The industry did not outthink him. They outlasted him, burying the technology not underground where it belonged, but in history, where it could not compete. They replaced infinite stationary power with expensive portable power and called it progress. They gave you a low battery warning instead of a shovel and called it convenience. But the chemistry has not changed. The ground beneath your feet is still full of mineral-rich moisture. Is still capable of the same ionic exchange Bain measured in 1841. Still producing that quiet, patient electrical pressure that needs nothing from you but two plates of dissimilar metal and the decision to use it. You know how the galvanic cell works. You know what charcoal does to polarization. You know why the Leclanché cell won the market and lost the argument. You know about patent number 9363. The grid is a choice. The bill is a choice. And now that you know about 1841, the silence is also a choice.